Hello to everyone. My name is Alberto, and I'm here to explain the difference between the early format and the current format about the listening. So I hope that you learned something and that you enjoyed. So, as Mario said in the video games, here we go!
The analysis of different formats of listening. First of all, and as introduction, I'm going to speak about what is listening. Listening is the active process of receiving and responding to spoken and sometimes unspoken messages. As the poet Alice Duer Miller, listening is not merely not talking. You can listen like a blank wall or like a splendid auditorium where every sound comes back fuller and richer. Listening is one of the subjects studied in the field of language arts and in the discipline of conversations analysis. Before continue, I'm going to talk about some definitions that we have been in the past of the time. The first one is Tucker in 1925. He said that listening is an analysis of the impressions resulting from concentration where an effort of will is required. The second one, Nichols in 1948. He said that the comprehension of expository materials presented orally in a classroom situation. The third one, Kelly, in 1975, she said that a rather definite and deliberative ability to hear information, to analyze it, to recall it in a later time, and to draw conclusions from it. And the last one, Rubin Clockley, in 1988. He said that the listening is the process of receiving, attending to, and assigning meaning to oral stimuli. Now I'm going to talk about the two formats of listening, the early format and the current format. So let's start seeing the early format. In the early format we have three stages. The first one is the pre-listening. We should pre-teach vocabulary to ensure maximum understanding. The second stage is listening. Could be in two ways: extensive listening, followed by general questions on context, and intensive listening, followed by detailed comprehension questions. And the last stage is the post-listening. Teach any vocabulary, analyze language, and post-play, where students listen and repeat. The current format is quite different for the early format. We have the same stage. In the stage of pre-listening, we establish context, we create motivation for listening, and we pre-teach only critical vocabulary. After, I will explain why this is so important in the new format. During the listening, we can make the extensive listening with general questions on context and attitude of speakers, and intensive listening, where we can find the preset questions, intensive reading, checking answers to questions. And the final stage, post-listening, could be optional, but I think that it's a good idea to do it. We can find the functional language of listening passage. Learners infer the meaning of unknown words for the sentences in which they appear. And the final play, learners look and transcript. So I have taken some conclusions of the difference between the early format and the current one. In the stage of pre-listening, the importance of teach only critical vocabulary. But why? If we don't make that, we can lose the context meaning. I mean, if you let them know all the words, they can't react about them. So they can't have the opportunity of having the experience of recognize the word or to search that word in a dictionary, or when in the future they will be in a real life, they will have some problems if you give them all the vocabulary. That's the way why it's so important to teach only the critical vocabulary. And we have to the importance of motivation. Why? Of course, motivation is the best way to get something. So if our students are motivated, I'm sure 100% that they will do it better. How can we do How can we do this? We can make, for example, we can put a title to the listening and ask them about how did you think, or what did you think are you going to hear in the listening? What did you think they are going to talk about? For example, during the listening, we can make general questions, but not more certain. Why? If you make general questions, that will be easier for the students. But if you make 13 questions, that will be harder for them and can put all the focus of attention in that questions. I think that they will be kind of lost. In the way that you make the intensive listening, you should take care about the preset questions. Why? The preset questions make them the way of know how they should do that. So that should be easier for them. The better way to do something is to make easier for them all the activities. So if they can read the questions, they will know how to listen. And the last one is the post listening. The best way to learn vocabulary is doing actively. So, as we have seen before, in the early format, it's only about repeat and play again, and repeat and play, stop, repeat. You can learn something like that. You will memorize, but not learning is different. So if you want to learn something, just practice. Think about it, use in a sentence. So the best way to do something and to learn is doing actively. I have taken an example of listening. So we have the audio and the text. I have taken this text for a website. And so here we go.
I love holidays. They are the best thing in the world. The only problem is they are always too short. Even summer holidays at school aren't long enough. I recently had an 8-week holiday and it flew by. It seems as though time goes quickly when we are on holiday and slowly when we are at school or work. I always really look forward to holidays. Even one-day holidays are great. I live in a country that has many national holidays, so there's always a break around the corner. I feel sorry for some workers who only get 2 or 3 weeks holiday a year. They can't do anything or go anywhere. I love holidays even if I don't go away. Staying at home is just as good as going on holiday somewhere. Sometimes going on holiday is stressful.
I have done some different ways of examples in the early format and in the current format about the same listening. So in this case, in the early format, in the stage of pre-listening, we will give the meaning of all hard words on the text. Maybe like enough, flew, thought, forward, stressful. I have taken all the words that I thought that will be hard for them. I think that these listening are going to use in a 5 or 6 grade. In the stage of listening, the questions should be like what he loves, or when the time goes slowly, or sometimes going holidays is that. And in the stage of post listening, I will play the audio and pause it. Then students will repeat it all. If they have some doubts, they will ask about the vocabulary. As I have said before, I don't think that this is the best way. It's a very serious listening. I have lived that in my own skin and I don't like it. I prefer the current one. It's more focused in the student. So the same listening I have made it with the current format, and I think that this should be the good way to make this. In the stage of pre-listening, we will put a title on the audio. For example, I think that should be holidays, and ask them about what they think that they will hear into the audio. Then we will teach them the meaning of simple difficult words like enough or stressful. For example, in this case, we are not going to give them the words like flew, thought. If they want to know, they will ask in the stage of post listening, okay? The next stage is the listening. Doing a fill in the gasp will be a good idea even to answer simple questions. So I have taken a fill in the gasp of the text and I have made this. So I think that this is another way to ask the same thing, but this isn't questions only. So I have done this fill in the gaps and the results are here. I don't think that it's easy, but not the hard that I could find. After that, in the post listening, we will ask about the vocabulary depth that they have, and after that we will play one more time the audio to get the best idea of the new vocabulary learned. So as difference in the early format, we play another time the audio to secure the vocabulary that they have learned, and if they have more questions, they will be able to ask us. So I think that this is all. I hope that you have enjoyed. I hope that you have learned something about the difference between the early format in listening and the current format of listening. And this is all. Bye bye!